Hey, what's happening, peeps? It's Owl Nimbus here from last night at the Majigen. Gonna do a solo episode. So let's get into it.
Listen, this is side talk. You can sidestep to the sidewalk or ride off when the boss sees
Hey,
you
good
lost.
morning,
I'm
everybody. Good
coming
morning.
around cause
It
I be
is
fucking around.
daylight savings time. May, not even May. It's March. It is the year of the snake. The snake, the rat, the cat, the dog. How you gonna see him if you're living in the fog? Okay. Hey, what's up, peeps? Hopefully, you guys are doing pretty well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It is about 6 a.m. and I still haven't slept yet. I usually stay awake pretty much the whole night. But anyway, just saying, say what's up. See how you guys are doing. Also, if you guys are, I don't know if you guys are audio listeners or what, but I got this cool, sick baseball jersey on, and it's let me turn around, see if I, so you guys can see it. Ugh. But it looks like it says the furries on it, but I assure you, it doesn't say the furries. This is actually a baseball jersey from the movie The Warriors, and when the Warriors they fight, it's like this old movie from like '79 about this New York City gang that has to make their way from the Bronx to Coney Island, and the Baseball Furies is one of the gangs that's in the movie. If you never ever seen the movie, it's like one of the dopest movies from that era, from like late '70s. Um, when I was about in high school, we had like this trip where we went to go to New York City, and that's probably like the first time I ever saw the movie. Is I was probably about, I'd say probably like a sophomore in high school. It was probably like '04, and then me and my nephew we went on a trip out to New York City, went by LaGuardia, and that was the first thing. Well, as soon as we landed in New York City at the airport, I guess our communications got messed up, so we didn't have a driver, and we're like kids in high school, but they didn't have a driver for us to take us to the hotel that they were staying at, because we're all going like on some kind of like group trip, and they didn't arrange it for us, so we had a. It's probably like almost midnight, and we had to go from LaGuardia, which is kind of like on the top side of Queens, I think, and we had to make our way all the way out to almost to Harlem, out to Manhattan area, which is where we were staying at. And the first thing we bought was like the first thing I bought there was like a map of New York City, and they had like all these little districts and stuff. And the first thing I was looking for, I was like, "Where's Coney Island at?" Because that's where the Warriors are from in the movie. And I was like, "Oh, there's the Bronx. There's Queens. There's Staten Island, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is probably the only part in New York City I never been to, but been to a little bit of Queens, Manhattan. We didn't go to the Bronx because the Turnbull ACs were up there. Okay, but mostly around like the Manhattan side, and kind of pretty much just stayed in the Harlem area. That's pretty much where we spent most of our times there. But it was pretty fun, and we went to Times Square, and they had a giant billboard when we were there. But they had, this is when the PlayStation 2 was out, and they had Rockstar made the game of the Warriors, and I just remember seeing this giant like billboard of the Warriors, and I thought that was like the coolest thing to see while we're there. What I probably one of my biggest regrets is that we didn't go to Coney Island, and I wish we did. Coney Island is probably one of the only places I really want to see there, and then like Brighton Beach because it's like right next to it. And if you know what Brighton Beach is in New York City, I want to say it is in Brooklyn, but it's also like kind of like this Russian district almost in a way. I don't know if it's like Russian or if it's Lithuanian or like Ukraine kind of area. But if you play GTA 4, where Nico Bellic he's from, that's kind of like the area that was inspired by it. And I was like, I really wish I could have seen that area, Brighton Beach, and then Coney Island is definitely one of them. But yeah, baseball furies. If you know, you know. And ironically, is that I'm wearing a Zangief shirt, and on the Zangief shirt, it has Brighton Beach on it, New York City, home of the Red Cyclone, which is kind of cool. Cause like I think I got this from, uh, I want to say it was Super Rare is the name of the clothing company that does like Street Fighter stuff from time to time. And every now and then I gotta support my homie Geef. I don't know if you guys can see it in the background back there, but right here, right in this area on my wall, I got like I only have one skate deck, like the board, but it's of Zangief. I tried to get a Chun Li one, but I just couldn't get one. They were like all sold out. By the time like I found out about them, they were already sold out. But that's maybe someday if I'm lucky to find one because they're so limited. They probably only make like 2,000 of them, 200 of them. I forget what the actual. I do know that it's numbered, but they do have like some sick. I want to say it's like a negative art because like the Chun Li one is like blue, and it has like her art on it, but the blue is kind of it's hard to explain what a negative space comic book is, but they do them from time to time. But the Chun Li one is definitely one I would want to get. But yeah, here I am, host Owl Nimbus here in the building. Kind of want to do like a solo podcast because I feel like a lot of people don't really know like me in general. And like every time when I like do videos and stuff, I never really like talk about me. So I figured I might as well do one podcast about me. Um, my name is Al Nimbus, and like you know, I would want to say like I really have like a strong hobby of something, but I've been always been like a jack of all trades. Like I always had different interests in a lot of things. Like probably in my early 20s, I did like stand up comedy. I did a lot of writing. I trained in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu from time to time when I had the chance to. So I'm probably like at a level like a little bit below a blue belt, but I know my way around the Jiu Jitsu gym. Like if I went back, but um, every now and then I'll just get tired of just doing certain things, like because to me it just gets repetitive. So I gotta like do something else to like I don't know if retrain my brain is the right word, but sorry, I'm moving the camera here because it's like I want you guys to like see the background stuff back there, but yeah, like every now and then I would get into like hobbies and stuff, and then it just gets like boring to me after a while, so I got to do something else. It was kind of like always like that. I would say probably a majority of my life. Like there'd be times when I was into like really into like and one street ball, and then I'm from a Native American reservation, so I'm Native American. So we play like the only thing that you can really do there is like go to powwows and hang out with friends if you can. But since everyone lives on the reservation, it's like not everyone really had access to a car, and if you want to go see your friends, they're sometimes they don't live in the same area as you because they're off the reservation. But they would have like this school, and we would play basketball all the time. Sometimes we would go like straight out of high school. We'd someone would always have a ball, and they had like a little elementary school. By the time we got out of school, they're like the whole entire school is like outdone for the day, but they always had basketball courts there, and the basketball courts was we'd probably play for like an hour or whatever it is, and then go home because the reservation is so small. So getting around everywhere, it's probably like 3 blocks just to get home. But there's like a your bus stop drops you off, and then across the street there's a basketball court. So how can you not? And we were in high school, so it wasn't like we really had parents that that were extremely worried about us. Just go play ball, and then go home, and then and then like you always have like when the and one mixtapes came out, everyone had like a nickname. Everyone had like a baller name. Like I always like uh, my nephew, he had a ball. I always liked his name. His name was Chromed Out. That was like his name, but they always had like these like funny names and like and one basketball like he had Hot Sauce, he had Alamo, Ao, um, Shane the dribbling machine. Who else is there? Half man, half amazing. There was the main event. I always like main event. He was dope. My favorite was probably Alamo. Like I would, I don't even know how we even got like the hold of those like mixtapes back in the day, because they used to sell like DVDs, and they would have like back in the day, in order for us to get like hip hop stuff, we had to go in the town, or if you found like a local mom and pop shop, they sold like tribal gear and stuff. And then, but underneath the glass, they always had like underground mixtapes of things. Could be breakdancing, it could be graffiti, could be like underground hip hop stuff. And then every once in a while, they'll have like and one mixtapes and stuff. So we would buy stuff like that. That's how I found out about like a lot of just street ball in general, but also rappers like Rakim and stuff, because they were everything what they played on the radio was all just like radio stuff like Biggie. They had the Tupacs, pretty much anything from Death Row. They would play Lord, really all the mainstream stuff, but no one ever really played like hip hop like that. So back in the day when we would go to these mom and pop shops, there was a place that was called the Spot. That's what it was called, and that's where you bought like all the underground like street clothes. Like when Echo was around, they had Echo. They had like tribal gear. That was like the big one. And then like if you go to the mall, they had like South Pole, South Pole and Fubu and Rockaware and stuff like that. That was like long, long time ago, and it's like weird, like looking back on it, like thinking like all your friends wore all this stuff, and then you think it's not gonna go out of style, and it does. They're dressed in like these giant like baggy clothes and stuff, and it's just funny to think about. But yeah, so got into I would say during that time when we started really listening. Well, when I started listening to like hip hop and stuff, I would always go to my friend's Mike's house, and he would always have like a little box of records and stuff. And every now and then he would have like mainly it was like Rakim and then there was Fat Joe and stuff, but Jay Dilla. That was the first time I ever found out about Jay Dilla. Well, it was through him. Jay Dilla, MF Doom, Madlib, and stuff like that. So that's when I really got into hip hop. And we had like this PlayStation 2 game called Club World, and we'd always make beats on it and then exchange our memory cards on the PS2. And then we would like compare our beats and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until like later on, like I never even knew on how they made beats back in the day. But I'll show you mine. MPC right here. This MPC, what's interesting about this one is that it's cool, but it didn't last long. So it's not like it doesn't work. I only have like 6 pads to work with. So I have these top four, and these bottom two barely work. So like, I think that kind of like forced me to start getting into like loops, because there's only so much I could do with 4 pads. Like it's very hard to like chop your stuff like the way you want it to. So it's like, even though I won't try to do loops for the most part, but I'll do the best I can with the small like little pads I got there. So yeah, got into like making beats and stuff like that, and I kind of like stopped doing that for a while. I mean, I'll do it now and then for fun, but the problem was with it is like it just costs a lot of money. And if you're really into like music and stuff, you understand how expensive it can be when you're trying to like promote all your stuff, make merch, go here, go there, trying to collab with other people. And to me, it was just like, it just didn't make sense financially, because like there'd be times when I make a project and I'm probably in like almost like 8 grand, and then all of a sudden, like I'm only getting back like 300 just to, and I was like, this sucks. Like I can't do it anymore. It's cool, and I love to do it, but it just got to a point to where it was just when it got to the business side of things, it wasn't fun. So, but like I'll still make like mixtapes and stuff every now and then, but it just depends on what I find. You know what I mean? Because your crate digging is like everything, and I feel like a lot of stuff that you want to use has already been done, or beats has already been made, or someone else has already done it before. So it's like it gets tough after a while, and that's just how it is. But other than that, Beast was cool. Like I liked doing the mixtapes and stuff. Then I really started getting into comic book flipping, collectible flipping and stuff. And I had a friend, and his name was Andre, and Andre just like he's like out of this world, but he's one of those guys. He really reminds me of like my older brother. He was like he's very I wouldn't say abrasive, but he's honest, and like he'll let you know like, yo man, you're fucking up. You know what I mean? Like you gotta get on your shit. Like, and that's something that I like. I like it when people are like really straight up, no bullshit. Just tell me, like if I'm fucking up, just tell me. Like I prefer that over a sugar coated lie, because people that are brutally honest to you. They're a lot more valuable to you as a friend or as family, more than you think that they would, because when you get things sugar coated, it like sure it feels good, but in the long run, it's only just cutting yourself short. And Andre is one of those guys. He really has that like hustler mentality, and he really got me onto like comic book flipping and figuring this shit out, because without him, like I feel like myself financially it would be just like horrible. There'd be times when you could, flip comic books and say your job, you make $200 an overtime day or whatever it is after taxes. But flipping comic books, it's just like you buy a book for $50 and then you put it up in auction and then it sells for 150 because it's sold out or whatever it is. You just got to do your homework. You have to do your homework when it comes to comic book flipping. You have to do your homework to a point to where it makes sense. And when it comes to comic book flipping, you have to do it in a way to where, one, there's a giant fan base of it, like pop culture wise. There's an aesthetic to it, and is there a limited supply? Because if there's a giant supply of anything, and then I feel like I'm giving you a lecture on economics. If there's an unlimited supply of something, it's going to be worth nothing. That's the reason why, like, for me, myself personally, I do not like holding on to cash. Like, cash is cool, and cash will get you a lot of things, but since they keep printing this stuff in the long run, that's the reason why inflation happens, because they just keep printing the money. And in order for you, as, like, a person who's trying to, like, keep yourself above water, you really have to get things that are in limited supply to combat inflation. That's the reason why gold is valuable. There's a reason why an ounce of silver is valuable, or comic books that are graded a certain grade. It could be a comic book that there's a lot of them out there, but it could also be like because the condition. When it's a certain condition, majority of the time when you send in a book to get graded, it goes through CGC most of the time. They do have other grading companies, but I prefer CGC. I know a lot of people don't really like them because there's a lot of like they have their ups and downs with just like any other company. But I never had a problem with CGC myself. But when you send in a comic book, I'll just give you an example. So I'm going through my little comic book box here. But say I got this book right here. This is a blue label of Batman Adventures Mad Love right here. So for the audio listeners, I'm holding up a slab of a CGC 9.8 Batman Adventures Mad Love. And the reason why this book is valuable, you can look this thing up on eBay, but this book is kind of crazy because this is right here is the origin of Harley Quinn, and is actually the second appearance of Harley Quinn. And if the reason why I went with this book, something about Batman characters, they have such a staple within pop culture, and it sometimes it just doesn't even matter, regardless if they have a live action adaptation or a movie or a show. Like Harley Quinn, she has value because not because of all the project like Suicide Squad or Birds of Prey. Like she has value because she is Harley Quinn. And this is something that's very difficult to get in a high grade because of this whole entire black cover, as you can see here on the artwork here. But they have, it's very difficult to get like a black cover comic to come back a high grade because a lot of times it has they're very susceptible to fading, and so it's a lot more easier to see when the color starts to get faded and stuff. But I went with this one. This one right here only has like 370, I want to say, 9.8s that exist. And they have this bottom barcode right here. And this barcode tells you on how many, what grade it is, when it was graded, if someone signed it, who signed it, that kind of thing. And the thing about CGC is they also do have things like yellow labels, and the yellow labels are important because these ones right here, these are when they get autographed by like so I have in my hand, for the audio listeners, I have a 9.8 CGC of Uncanny X-Men 221. This is the first appearance of Mr. Sinister, but it's also signed right here. But I'll read it to you guys who are audio listeners. But it's signed by Chris Claremont, who is the main writer of X-Men. Glynis Oliver, I believe she did. I want to say she did the coloring, I believe. Tom Orzechowski, he did the lettering, and then Roy Thomas, he's the co-creator of Wolverine, and Wolverine's on the cover. I feel like I have to, like, you just had to get, so you have 4 signatures on this book, and of course you can see it, all the signatures there. You have Tom Orzechowski. I really like his lettering style. Glynis Oliver, and you got Chris Claremont in purple ink right there, and Roy Thomas, and you got Havoc right here, burning up Wolverine on this dope Mark Silvestri cover. Mark Silvestri is probably the only one I don't have on this one, but when he shows up to CGC, this is something I'm going to send to him. And then the only person that's really missing is Jim Shooter, who's the editor at that time. But this is definitely a book that I would get, pick it up, even if you could get it raw. There's a few books that are out there that are raw that are really, really good. But yeah, this is the yellow label. And what the yellow label means is when they sign it, when they sign the comic book, CGC's representatives, they're there to watch the signing happen. And that's important because when you buy a book that's signed, you want your signatures to be witnessed. Because if you try to sell any raw comic book, raw meaning like it's out of a slab, it's not graded, it's not authenticated, if there's no paperwork that's legit and them not saying that it's witnessed, then it's really just up for opinion. Even if you get like a professional like JSA on it, I wouldn't trust it because people forge signatures all the time. I mean, there's a big giant scam with, like the Funko Pop industry because they just get like any kind of sticker on it from JSA. They don't know if it's real or not. They didn't see the signature happen, so who's to really say? Like, if you take the time, you probably could forge some signatures, and they are out there, and it does happen. So that's one of those things you got to be careful about. But yeah, comic books is really what I'm into. Um, Also in the background here, I'll show you guys. Let me move out of the way of the camera. But for the audio listeners who cannot see, I got three posters right here that are hanging up. Um, they're all original from Japan, B2 size, meaning that they're 20 by 30. Um, you have an original 90s Street Fighter Third Strike with Chun Li right there. You got some Dark Stalkers original, like original poster of from Japan, and that was to promote the anime adaptation they did. And we also have right here we got Ayabrea with Parasite Eve 1. That's also from Japan. Let me move this mic out of the way. And right over there, let me see on the camera, right here. This is the PlayStation 1 adaptation of the video game Serial Experiments Lane, which is extremely hard to find and it's extremely expensive now. But but yeah, I also have some sealed figures and stuff. I got some up there. Mostly, I'm really trying to get like X-Men versus Street Fighter stuff. That's the stuff that I feel like is probably on my to-do list. But I only have like one more room on this wall right over here for another poster, and it's very difficult to pick the last one I want. I'm for an original poster, like an original. Um, I'm thinking about some options. I'm thinking about either Final Fantasy VII from the '90s or something Resident Evil. Like it's between those two or X Men versus Street Fighter if I can find the right one. Um, but yeah, like promotional, and I would put them in frames because I want to take care of this stuff because something about promotional posters are just so badass to me because think about this is like people that are this is like one of the investments that I don't think is good is if you get into sealed video games unless you can buy it for cheap, like as in like at a yard sale and they don't know what it is and they just sold it to you, because that market is long gone. And this is my opinion, is like if you're trying to get into sealed games, sealed video games or graded games, like that ship has sailed a long time ago. And it almost gets to a point to where you're paying a premium, but and to me the premium is not worth it because there's other stuff that's out there like this stuff. Like an original promo poster to me is way more badass than having a sealed video game because think about this. Those posters right there, they were never meant to be sold to the public. Like they were never meant to be sold to the public, and yet somehow they survived the downfall of video game stores. Like the thing about GameStop is probably one of the last ones that's like left as a main franchise. Pretty much every video game rental store is out of business, and somehow that from Japan survived overseas and survived for decades. Who knows how? And it's sitting there on the wall. To me, that's way more badass than a sealed video game. And I'll go to the grave with that. Like I'm telling you, like there is so much like cool shit that's out there, and the hard part, and I get that it's the market right now is not good when it comes to collectibles, but I'm telling you, there are ways to flip comic books. And I'm telling you, right now, now that, because I know that you probably guys see that the market's crashing. People right now are panic selling a lot of their comic books. My guess is because Marvel and DC are not on the best they're not on the best like momentum when it comes to live action adaptations. So like Marvel movies are really flopping at the box office. DC movies are not doing so great. So what happens is when these movies they start to go bad, like on a downward turn, like Deadpool 3 might have been one of the last like really good superhero movies for a while. And when those movies do not do well, that's when the comic books start to drop. And people are really panic selling when it comes to that stuff. So now, right now, is the best time to get into collectibles if that's something that you're into. Because I'll give you an example. Like 3 years ago, when COVID was like the like in happening and people were just at home and collecting this stuff, people were going for like a first appearance of Gambit, which is an Uncanny X-Men 266 at a 9.8. 3 years ago was selling for $1,100. $1,100 for that book. Like think about it. First appearance of Gambit. Gambit has not had like a giant like project, but it's still Gambit. But like $1,100 3 years ago for a CGC 9.8 that was selling. Today, that same book is probably selling for about 550, like after shipping and taxes. That's like half of what it was worth. Is that book still going to crash even more? I don't think so, because Gambit's still there. Do I think they're going to make a solo project for him? I don't know. I just don't know if Gambit has like a giant backstory. I don't know if he could do like a solo project by himself without the X-Men. Because like when you think about Gambit, I know that he does have like a like he was part of a thieves guild and all that, but you still need to have like the X-Men there. You still need to have Rogue there because that's a big giant part of his character. But the Wolverine is probably one of the only solo characters that can like from the X-Men that can really hold a project on his own. He has like so many stories, and then like if you're gonna invest in comic books, I would say anything that's Wolverine, you're good. Anything that's Batman related, especially when it comes to their villains, like first appearances and origins. That's the reason why I went with Harley Quinn, because the Harley Quinn, the origin of Harley Quinn was, I want to say this book probably sells for like around like 350 or something like that. And like if I'm being honest, like if I'm getting my tax return and you happen to just have 300 like laying around, this is not a bad book to pick up, because there's not, Harley Quinn is not going to crash, man. Like Harley Quinn is Harley Quinn. Like she's one of those like Batman characters that will stand the test of time for like ever. Um, but like as I'm getting to like when I compared this to the Gambit, like one, this book is cheaper, but two, Harley Quinn, like she's able to have solo projects on her own. Like she had the Birds of Prey, and she has her own origin story, Mad Love. She has Suicide Squad, which you can love it or hate it, but it will never ever take away like the iconic status of Harley Quinn, because she's here forever. And, like she's comic book history now, and that's the reason why I went with that book over the first appearance of Gambit, because like Harley Quinn is just it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy stuff. But yeah, I think when it comes to collectibles and stuff, I'm pretty sure that I do know that I do have some figures. Let me see, wait, grab it. So like I really like Darkstalkers, the like the video game, and if you don't know what Darkstalkers is, it's basically like it's a Capcom game, but it's of Street Fighter, and it's sort of like a movie monster movie version of Street Fighter. So they have like werewolves, they have like and it's funny. What I love about this is that if you guys can't see, it's audio listeners out there. But this is a sealed figure from Darkstalkers 3, and it comes in a 2-pack from Toy Biz. This is from the '90s, but you got John Talbane, who's the werewolf, who's kind of like was kind of like a really good. He's probably one of the good guys in the game. But John Talbane, and you also have BB Hood, and BB Hood is actually a villain, which is I find it's kind of funny, is that the werewolf is the good guy, and the Little Red Riding Hood is like the bounty hunter, and I just think that's so cool, like a unique idea for something like an old folklore kind of thing. But yeah, But when it comes to the figures, I really like X-Men versus Street Fighter stuff. I would like to get some more like Toy Biz Resident Evil stuff. Like the sealed ones like Mr. X, but damn, that thing's like $200. Like a sealed figure that once at retail was costing probably like $8. Like I saw like a electric boutique like like a little store tag on it, and it was like $8 for the thing or 12 or something. It's just like what the hell. But that's the kind of stuff you really want to go for. Is stuff that for some reason they just hold their value because of the limited supply of it. So I mean, cash is cool and cash will get you out of a lot of things, but like I feel like I have to like hold on to something that's like in limited supply that will hold its value for nostalgic reasons or whether it's a precious metal or whatever it is. So, but yeah, and speaking of comic books, show you one of my favorite comic books right here for the audio listeners. This is Chun Li. Chun Li, Street Fighter Legends of Chun Li. This is basically the book of the origin of Chun Li. Really it dives deep into a story. I want to say it's like 4 volumes, but it goes into the little bit in detail on how Sagat lost his eye. Goes in a little bit of the motive on why M Bison, uh, iced her father. It goes in a little bit of detail on that. I'll probably share it with you guys someday. And what else is in here? She also has like it goes a little bit of her police days, and she has a partner in here, and it's just like she has like a female partner, and like yeah, Chun man, she been looking kind of hot in here. I'm kidding. Yeah, but she also has a female partner, and let's just say that she's got a light skinned friend, look like Michael Jackson. Okay, but yeah, man. But yeah, that's a little bit about me, flipping collectibles and stuff like that. And like if I had an extra $20 on my hands, and like you guys, because I want to try to help you guys out a little bit, I want to show you like if you guys have like $20, 20, $25, and you're trying to get into like comic books, first few of them that I would probably get is probably like an X-Men 212, which is Uncanny X-Men 212, which is the very first fight between Wolverine and Sabretooth. I don't think that's a bad book to pick up. Batman 404, which is Batman Year One, which is not a bad one. You know what? Let me just show you. Let's talk about some comic books that I would pick up with $20. If you had $20 to your name and you really want to get something cool, this right here. This right here is 1986 Uncanny X-Men 212 for $20. This right here is a damn good book, I would say, to pick up. This is the very first fight between Sabretooth and Wolverine. For a $20 pickup, right here. This is a good book right here. $20 pickup. Batman 404. This is by Frank Miller. Look at that. See this exact listing right here. Look at that. And this is coming from someone who collects books, but this is not a bad book. There's not really too many things going on here. You have a little bit of spine break right here, and our discoloration here. But this is a Frank Miller book. This is not a bad book to pick up right there. This book right here. This is not a bad book to pick up right here. So this is $26. That's not bad. But this right here is Daredevil 183, written by Frank Miller, the first print. But this is the first time when Daredevil meets the Punisher. And now the Daredevil show is around the corner. This is not a bad book to pick up. This one right here. Here's a book right here. This is Uncanny X-Men 221, the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. This right here. When you talk about X-Men villains, Mr. Sinister is up there. This is not a bad book. You got 16 people looking at this thing, and it's on a newsstand. And the thing about these newsstands is, for some reason, they're worth more money. Don't ask me why. Well, I'll tell you why. The reason why these things are worth more is because they're harder to find in a higher grade. So that barcode right here, this means that this book was hanging up somewhere in like a 7-Eleven or some kind of grocery store, and like these were like reader copies and like this comic book racks. So kids would play with this stuff all the time. So it's very difficult to get your hands on something that's a good, really, really high good copy on that. I did see that Todd McFarlane, he is doing a Mortal Kombat line of certain books, but this right here is not a bad one at all. $18, Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition number 1, 1994. Can't go wrong with that. But yeah, I think that's what I would pick up if I had an extra $20 to my name, just to throw out some, just these little books here and there. Those are, in my opinion, for $20. Like, those are not bad pickups if raw books are your thing. But I feel like we went a little over 45. I'm trying to keep it, a tight shift. And just want to say good morning to you guys whenever this comes out. Shout out to the homies in Zimbabwe. And I believe that should be it for now. I mean, I might do a little bit more of these solo podcasts. Maybe show you guys a little bit more on what collectibles I would pick up if I had like an extra $20 to my name. But those are just a little bit more info for you guys. And yeah. And I'll talk to you guys later. Owl Nimbus. Out. She's got a light-skinned friend look like Michael Jackson.